Hello, everybody.
Alexa.
How's it going?
Everyone.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're in the world. How y'all doing today?
Do we even have anyone who's still in morning time?
Oh man, I don't even know.
You never know. Maybe with like Hawaii. You never know.
I have people on here from the Philippines sometimes.
Okay.
Tokyo. We've had a few people from South Africa join us.
That's cool.
So yeah,
I think South Africa is tomorrow, or they're probably tomorrow at this point.
Yeah. Some of them work for Power, but it's like, yeah, we're like, thank you for joining that session. So yeah. Shay, what's going on, girl? How you doing?
Doing pretty good.
All right.
Monday.
I'm super pumped up about today's session.
Yeah,
So Alexa, this is going to be fun. I'm big on trying to look at real estate from a different angle than what's traditionally been rolling out historically. And this is I've been trying to tell a lot of our team members, and maybe it's something that we need to be able to build to bring people in. So, but yeah, I'm pumped to learn.
Well, after today, I think I might make you a believer. So
Let's go.
Awesome.
All right. We'll give a couple minutes coming in here. Jorge, pleasure to see you. AJ Bailey, saw you join the community a couple days ago. How you doing, Joe?
You've been working on this for quite some time, and I'm just really excited to see it all come together.
Yeah, same.
It's going to be good. Are we going to need the full hour? Is it like jam? How do you think we're going to do on time? What's your frequency, Alexa?
I don't know. It depends on how many questions everyone has. I've done this. Oh, are you getting an echo from me?
I think I am. We're going to mute Chris Remers. Remes?
Remes,
Okay.
yep.
Okay.
Yep.
How about now? Still getting an echo? No echo?
Now we're good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. It's going to depend on how many questions everybody has. I can go as long as an hour. It's going to be hard to go less than 30 minutes. So, but I'll do everything I can to get everybody out of here on time.
All right. No. Let's make it engaging. I love it. All right. With that being said, I know we're 1 minute and I typically wait for 1:02. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. I'm pumped up. I'm ready. I'm on my third cup of coffee. Let's go. All right. So let me run through this introduction and then let's jump right in here. All right, cool. Everybody, today's guest, we have Alexa Rosario. Alexa runs a real estate business in South Florida, and it's built almost entirely around inherited property.
Yeah.
Fun fact, she's the first person I've ever even heard use the term inherited property. She's worked directly with attorneys handling those estates. She went through probate in her own family, which is what pointed her towards this work in the first place. She now runs an ongoing referral relationship with attorneys across the country and teaches the same systems to agents in other markets. With that being said, what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be going into this and she's going to be walking us through this entire process. So probate has a reputation in this business and most of it comes from just one simple playbook. Alexa works a different lane where the listing comes to you because an attorney already trusts you. People work with who they know, trust. All right. If you have written this category off before, the next hour is going to be why you want to tune in. And feel free, me and Shay will be managing the chat. Let off any questions you have. Let this be a conversation. If you're not getting something, she could dive deeper in it. She built it, she knows it, and it's coming from her playbook. With that being said, Alexa, the floor is yours.
I feel like I need to carry you in my pocket and have you introduce me everywhere I go. Because that was such a good intro.
I know. He's like, are you going to do the intro today? I'm like, if you're on, Jeff, you just got to do it.
Yeah, I just need that as recorded and then play it before I walk in a room. That was awesome.
I'm down. I love the cause. I can dig it.
I love it. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to hear from maybe a couple of people. Has anybody worked with probate, inherited property, senior transitions? If you could jump in and give me a 15 to 20 second, what market are you in and what was the experience like for you? I would love to hear from like 3 people. Who wants to go?
I can go. My name is Roger Zelaya. I'm
ahead,
in
Roger.
California. I'm in California, and all of my business is strictly probates. I started 2 years ago, and I go after administrators, executors, and probate attorneys.
Awesome. What brought you to that space?
2022, nobody was buying property, so I needed to find people that must sell their house. Dead people do.
Okay, awesome. Love it. Let's see. We had a couple people raise their hands. So, Chris, go ahead.
Am I muted still? So
Nope,
I'm in Boston. My name's Chris. I'm in Boston. I have 2 lawyers who I just have been friends with, and they both, whenever they have anything, they send it to me. One is a wills, trust, and estate person, so he's pretty regular. So I get those. I probably get 1 to 2 a year, and then my cousin's also a lawyer, and they probably send me 1 every 18 months. And they're good to do. You know, the families are grieving, and I feel like people want to be. I feel like these people want to be led. There's less fighting, and there's more leading.
Yeah, definitely. I see that there's like a whole bunch of hands up right now. Just so you know, I have like 5 or 6 points throughout the presentation where I'm going to ask for participation. So if I don't get to you this round, I promise I want to hear from you in one of the others. Let's go.
And
with
then use
Natalia.
the chat, guys. Use the chat.
Please.
Feel free to drop them in the chat as we go through. The more that we know, the more we can cater this conversation to you guys.
Yeah, definitely. Natalia, let's go with you because you were, I think, one of the first to put your hand up.
Well, I do probate right now, so this is one of trying to have it as my main business. So I've done in the last year, we've done most of my transactions were probate. So and I'm actually constantly reaching out to the families.
I love that. Yeah. Awesome. Okay, cool. And I want to give a shout out to the agents that have been through my programs. I see a bunch of you guys and even one of my co-agents here in South Florida, Nordis. So awesome to have you guys here. All right, so I'm going to jump into my screen share, and I'm not sure yet if, hold on.
How to remove my
hit with the, yep, we're good.
Okay, so just so you guys know, if you're asking questions in the chat, I can't see the chat and the screen at the same time. So just somebody give me a shout out if there's questions that you guys want me to answer. But like I said, there's a few points that I'm going to stop and ask you guys for participation. Okay.
And so, Alexa, I'll go ahead whenever that happens. If I see a question, I'll jump in, I'll pause you, and I'll even pin it so that you'll see it.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. All right. So a couple of things. First is when you start getting referrals from probate attorneys, sometimes they're really messy. I had lunch with, if some of you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen in my story, I talked about how I had lunch with an attorney a couple of weeks ago. It took me 2.5 years to actually sit down with her. But when we sat down, she's like, I have a case for you right now. The situation was that it was a mother and father who were killed in the house at the same time. And they had 11 children together. Husband had 5, wife had 5, and they had 1 together. And I wish I was like creative enough to make up this story because it sounds so outlandish that like, it sounds like I'm making it up, but I promise you I'm not exaggerating even one bit. So the joint child, the granddaughter of the joint child, her boyfriend is the one who broke into the house and murdered the father and the mother. And so they determined that the father was shot first because the detective basically said he came in through the garage and then the mother came out of the kitchen. And so there's a whole probate battle right now over how the probate is supposed to proceed because of statute and all of these things. And so, you know, a lot of times we are like excited about getting into a specific new niche and we're like, oh, there's going to be so many listings. I just wanted to give you the craziest one I've ever heard because this is not always going to be smooth and simple and just another quick little listing. But here's a couple of screenshots from the attorneys that have sent me referrals. So I started working with agents back in 2019 or 2020. And at this point, I've coached over 1,300 agents. And about 2 years ago, I decided that I was going to basically burn my regular business to the ground and focus go all in on inherited property. And so before I share how I came to that conclusion, I just want to let you guys know, if you want me to give you a shout out today on Instagram, take a photo, of your screen or of yourself, whatever, tag me in your Instagram story with a little like, my biggest takeaway today was X, Y, and Z. Include your market, so that way if there's anyone who's looking for an agent in your market, they can find you, and then tag me in your Instagram story and I'll repost it. So feel free to go ahead and do that. Okay. All right. So I am a big reader, as I'm sure many of you are, and there's 2 books that completely changed the way that I thought about lead generation. I come from the Keller Williams world, the KW background, where it's all about the 8 touches over 8 weeks and the 33 touch campaigns and all these like very structured follow-up styles, these models and systems. And when I found these 2 books, my brain exploded. Please take a screenshot because hopefully they do the same for you. So the first one is called Built to Sell. And this book is told novel style. And it's about this guy who runs, somebody is off of mute. And I just want to make sure it's not distracting for anybody else. So if you guys could all just make sure you mute. So the first one is novel style, and it tells the story of this guy who he owns a marketing agency, and he's like burnt out. He's like chasing around clients that make him miserable. And he's like, I just want to sell my business. And so it's the whole journey of him really understanding and getting mentored in how to sell a business. And what it really comes down to is having a repeatable framework and a repeatable way of selling it, so that your company actually becomes valuable. Now, I will tell you, Jeff mentioned that my family went through probate. So in 2018, my dad passed away. He was a business owner in the granite countertop space. And my family spent 2.5 years fighting over the business. A business that doesn't have systems is literally useless. It cannot be transferred. He did multiple millions of dollars a year, and the business had to be liquidated because all of the systems lived in his head. And so when we talk about building legacy, because that's what we're talking about for our clients, building systems is the foundation of that in our own business. And so that book was a big part of this. And the second one is called The Ultimate Sales Machine. And this guy worked for Charlie Munger, I think it was, who had a magazine that was like really poorly performing. And so Chet Holmes came in, basically did what he called the Dream 100 campaign, which is where he focused on the 100 advertisers that were marketing in his competitors' magazines. And he ended up doubling his revenue year over year over year for like 7 years straight. And so Charlie Munger's like, are you sure we're not doing anything illegal? And it came down to this concept of the Dream 100 strategy. And so it was never about having the biggest database or having the most people. It's being really strategic about having deep relationships with people who are not going to just give you a referral. They're going to give you referrals, plural. Okay. So with that in mind, I want to also highlight, Jeff brought up that I'm the only person that he knows that uses the term probate, and inherited property. And there's a very specific reason for that. In my conversations with probate attorneys and other types of attorneys, if you go in saying, yeah, I list probate, does somebody want to tell me what the problem with that is? I can't say you guys, so somebody just come off of mute and jump in.
Not every property needs to go through probate because it's inherited.
Is that Jael?
It's me.
Oh, I know your voice without even seeing your face. That is crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah. Yes, that is exactly right. So we have ladybird deeds, we have trust administration, we have senior transitions, there's guardianship cases. I even ran this process once for someone who's going to prison for life, and they still needed the property cleaned out and sold and all of the things. And so if you go in talking to attorneys just about probate, you sound like every other agent. You have to go in with a mindset of inherited property and legacy transfers, not with probate, because they will write you off. Every agent goes in like, I'm a probate specialist. And so you end up sounding like everybody else. Now, I went through the stats in my market. So I'm in South Florida, Broward, Dade, Palm Beach counties, and pulled up all of the probate cases over the last 5 years, because I was curious to see what percent of them actually ended up selling. And so across 3 different counties, this was consistent within like 2 to 3%, right? So in the first year, 1 out of 5 of them are going to end up selling. In the second year, 2 out of 5 of them are going to end up selling. And then between years 3 and 5, an additional 20% of them are going to end up selling. Now, I know that you guys are growth minded because you're here. So can somebody tell me from a farming perspective, another lead generation source, what the recommended like metric is? What percent of turnover is considered a good farming area? Can somebody tell me?
5%.
What is it?
6.
5 to 6%, right? We're talking about literally 4 times that in the first year. And we're talking about 3 out of 5 are going to sell within 5 years. I can't see you guys, but I hope that that makes you like, oh my God, this is crazy, right? Like this is not just a small thing. This is a massive number of families that need our help during these transitions. And it's not just about taking a listing. Like we'll get to that, but I need to make sure you guys understand the scale of this. Now, there's a couple of things that as agents, we get completely wrong when we focus on building relationships with attorneys. And I spend a lot of time with them and I ask them about their experiences with agents, and the feedback is pretty consistent. So the first is if you are an over communicator and the attorney doesn't know you, what ends up happening, and I've seen this, is the fact that they start billing your conversations to their client. And so now you become a burden and a liability when you think that you're just nurturing a relationship and you're just following up. And we don't respect those billable hours. They operate very differently than we do. So especially probate litigators, they're in and out of court, they're dealing with all of these other things. And when we're like expecting communication in the same way that we do, they're for every 30 minutes that they're spending with you, that's like a few $100s for them. So it's really important that you understand that their lives are very different than ours. The next one is the lack of knowledge. The amount of attorneys that I've had conversations with where the agents didn't understand the process of probate. They didn't understand the terminology. They didn't understand the nuances of writing a contract for probate. Every single one of those were like, I hate working with agents. And typically what ends up happening is once I get their referral, because we know how to do this process, I end up getting their referrals again, simply because we know how to handle the process. So you have to understand, at least at the bare bones basics of the probate process and the core terminology. The next one is the lack of value. So most agents will go in having a conversation with an attorney and they'll say something like, well, I'm going to sell it for top dollar, or I always answer the phone. And the problem with that is that, yeah, that's called table stakes. Those are basic expectations. And the other is when agents start throwing other agents under the bus. As an industry, we have a reputation problem. And every time that we throw other agents under the bus in those conversations, it just lowers the respect level of our professional peers. And so your value proposition has to actually solve problems. And so we're going to talk about that. But that is really important, that your value going in cannot be, I'm going to sell it, or I answer my phone, or I'm a really good communicator. All of those are expected. Like, that's not a value proposition. And the last one is using the wrong language. So this goes back into like the terminology piece, but also in how we write our contracts and not knowing the general language of probate. So we'll talk about that as well. Okay, so let's talk about getting on the attorney's radar. So the first thing is, there's a company called Probate Data. Now, they don't cover every single county in America, but they do cover most of them. And so they are the best platform that I found for the best user experience. And if you go there, you'll be able to pull all of the probate cases in your market. Before you start going to their site, just stay locked in, because I have something for you at the end that will help you and save you some money here. Okay, so just don't get sidetracked going down that rabbit hole yet. But I want you to know that this is probably the best tool. I've had conversations with the probate designations and some of there's a guy who has a probate podcast. We've all had conversations about this. Probate Data is by and far the best. The next thing is that
I was literally pulling it up, so I'm so glad you threw that in there. I was like, oh, okay, let me get back over here. All right, go ahead.
No overachieving in this moment. We're going to stay present. We're going to stay focused. I got you back. Just stick with me for a second here. So we're going to take all of those. When you open probate, by the way, for your own family as well, having a trust or putting your property into like a ladybird deed so that it transfers on death is not just about like being a wealthy family. When you go into probate data, you're going to see how much information actually becomes public. So you'll see the date that the person died. You're going to see every single heir that's named in the probate case. There's been some of them that are like 11 heirs. Like, it's crazy. You'll get to see like the property that's attached to it, the estimated property value. There's a lot of information. Every one of those heirs has a phone number and an email address connected because they're pulled from court records. And so all of that is public record. And so if that doesn't motivate you to make sure you have your own estate plan in order, I don't know what does. The next thing is that we're going to talk about an automation that, or let's call it a process that we run every single time that they open probate. So it's not just like the first time, it's every time. And we'll talk about like what exactly that looks like. So I call this the omni-channel approach. And so some of you may know what that means, but essentially no matter where they look, they're going to see you. And so there's an agent that I coach in Tampa, and she actually just the other day is like, hey, one of my like main attorneys unsubscribes from my emails. Should I still send him the handwritten note? And I was like, of course. That's why we do the omni-channel approach, because just because someone doesn't like to communicate by email doesn't mean they're not going to respond over LinkedIn or something like that. So the first thing that I do when that probate opens is I send an email with the pre-listing package, and it's not a regular pre-listing package. It's specific to inherited property. All the language is specific to inherited property. And once again, it's inherited, not just probate. And like I've even had situations where I had a senior transition once where I started using I mentioned something about probate and she like lost her mind. And I wasn't even talking to her or about her situation. She's like, my mom isn't dead yet. And so like, the language we use when people are grieving is very important. So like we just be careful in that. The next thing is sending them a LinkedIn request. And so I reach out on LinkedIn. In this presentation, we're not going to go super deep on LinkedIn, but just know that a big part of your ability to get referrals from attorneys is when they look you up online, like make sure that you talk about probate. Make sure you talk about inherited property. Make sure you talk about legacy transfers, because if they look you up and you only have sold sign photos and open houses, you are not a specialist, and that is where we end up losing them. So just make sure you have some mention of that. The next one is that I'll call them. Now, my promise to you guys was that this was never going to be about cold calling, and this is not. This is literally, hey, I sent you a pre-listing package, or I don't use those exact words, but I sent you an information package for your client, and I just want to make sure you got it because I know sometimes firewalls like block it out. And by this point, they've seen you on LinkedIn, they've seen your email, and typically you're going to get the receptionist, and they're going to be like, oh, I have to find out and call you back. Perfectly fine. Next thing, you're going to go drop by their office, and I typically will bring my package with me. And so I've emailed it to them and I bring it by, and I'll say, hey, just in case it didn't hit your inbox, I wanted to bring it by as well. And I have an insert in there that's it's a one pager that says 12 questions to ask your real estate agent when you're inheriting property. And so now at this point, we're on 4 touch points. The next one is I send another email.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
This might be a dumb question, but
Go
what
ahead.
kind of attorneys handle probate? Like, do you feel like they just specialize in probate, or is there different types of attorney, like estate attorneys?
Actually, not a dumb question at all. And it took me so long and so much money and so much time and so many lunches to learn this the hard way. An estate planning attorney and a probate attorney are typically not the same. That being said, estate planning attorneys will say they do probate, but most of them don't do probate, or they don't do a large number of it. The reason that I'm saying go through probate data is because you can actually see the attorneys that are opening probate cases versus the ones who are doing estate planning. Their clients are still alive. They're protecting their house. They're not inheriting property. And there's a lot of attorneys who are stepping out of litigation and into estate planning and real estate law right now. And so do not confuse them. Probate attorneys and estate planning attorneys, they can do both. But in most cases, when we're talking about actual production, the probate attorneys, like that's all they do.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so touch number 5 is going to be a case study email. Now, if you don't have a case study yet, obviously you're going to skip this one, but once you do, then of course you're going to use that. Next thing is that you're going to send a handwritten note. And by the way, I know some of you follow me on Instagram, and so you've seen in my stories, I talk about this a lot. I don't send a branded handwritten note. And in fact, it's not a regular like handwritten note at all. I use a purple envelope that has like deckled edge paper. I handwrite them. I have a little embosser stamp and I put a little wax seal on it. And I will tell you, the 5 minutes it takes for me to write those, I cannot tell you that there's a better return on my investment of anything that I do other than that. Like, it is mind-blowing what people are willing to do for you simply because you sent them a beautiful handwritten note. And so do not put your logo on it. Don't put your brand on it. Don't make it something that's like, if it looks corporate, you're doing it wrong. Like, it has to be personal enough where it feels like it's a pattern interrupt in their mailbox. And so notice how everything we're doing here is about pattern interrupting. Next touch point is we're going to send a LinkedIn message, and then we're going to leave them alone for a little bit. And then we're going to reach back out again around that 90-day mark. And so it's going to be around like day 85. And the reason, actually, let me pop quiz you guys. Does anybody know why I wait until that 90th day mark?
Because the case has got to go through the court system, and in California, it takes, from the time it's filed, it takes about 3 months, which is 90 days.
Okay. Yes, that's part of it. But more specifically, does anybody know what, and maybe every state is a little bit different in what they call it, but there's a specific reason why 90 days is typically like the trigger point.
Because letters have been issued by then?
So there's something called a creditor period, which is where when probate opens, you have to give anyone the opportunity to make a claim against the estate. And so in a lot of places, the court is not going to let the family just sell the property. They're not even going to assign the personal representative. And in a lot of places, like here in South Florida, our probate court is really backed up. And so even to get things moving along, it's going to take about that long. And so it's not necessarily that they're going to like be like, okay, yes, like, thank God you just let me know about the 90-day period, but it shows that you're actually paying attention. And once again, we're speaking their language. So I want you to think about this in the way that, like, when you're working with a lender, right? And your lender, let's say you're working with a buyer, you're taking them out to look at properties, you're running comps, and like you're communicating with the lender. That lender acts like a team member to you, and they're like an extension of your business. We are the extension of the attorney's business in the same way that a lender is to us. And so when you think about it from that perspective, where it's our job to make their lives easier, that's when you start to have really great conversations with the attorneys.
I love that. Before you hop on, we have a question. What is a case study email? And then it continued, an email of one of our own probate listing experiences, ?
Yeah, so it does not have to be specific to probate, but it should be either a messy or a property that needed to be cleaned out and how you helped that family through that, right? So like we're going to talk about this in a few minutes, but one of the biggest pain points during the inheritance process is dealing with the actual property contents itself. So in the case study email, talking through that, and I'm going to show you an example of how I present this. I'm going to show you exactly like the conversation I have, all of the things. So just hang tight. Okay.
Alexa, this will also count as a personal experience as well, correct? That case study?
It's better if you have it for somebody else. Obviously, if you are like, I went through this, I use that a lot in my handwritten note. Like I went through probate myself, and this is why I do this work. And so from that perspective, they love to know that you have the personal kind of connection to it. But if you have an actual case study of a property that you've sold and managed the family through probate, then obviously that's going to help more.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay? Absolutely. All right, let's keep moving because we have like so much to cover and I want to make sure we get through all of this. So the next thing is that apathy is the enemy. I love to read, and you guys are going to see that. There's this great book called Creating Superfans by this woman named Brittany Hodak. It's like a bright blue and yellow book. And she talks about, part of her thing is creating fans in your business that are so excited about referring you and so excited about working with you that they can't stop talking about you. We have someone off of mute, so please put yourself back on mute. That would be really helpful. So she talks about how a raving fan is obviously the goal. And most people think that the worst thing you can have is a bad review or a bad client experience. And that's not good, obviously. But the worst thing that you can actually have is apathy, which is like the sort of resignation, the like boredom of like, no, I don't even care that much. I don't care about leaving a referral. I don't care about talking about you, because that means that you are not creating an experience that's unique enough to talk about. And so when we're having conversations with attorneys, in order to make sure that they cannot be apathetic about you, means that we can't just sound like another realtor and another salesperson. Because from their perspective, once again, they look at us the same way that we look at title and lenders and inspectors who are like everywhere. And like, you're like, I already have my person. I already work with somebody, or I have, most of my clients have somebody, and we'll talk through some of the objections, but most of them are going to appear apathetic at first, but it's our job to break through that. And so we have to understand that, like, from their perspective, most of them, they went to undergrad, then they spent 3 years in law school, and their law school is like, that's like part of their identity. We spent a couple weeks in a real estate course and took an exam and call ourselves professionals, right? Like, there's a difference in the level of training that they're required to have. And so in order for us to earn their respect, we have to speak their language as well. The next thing is that agents don't stay consistent. And so an agent will show up one time, they'll run the 8x8 one time, they'll do these things one time, and then they disappear, and then another agent pops up. And so it's like playing whack-a-mole, where there's not really a trust in the industry, and it's our job, once again, to be the ones who break that sort of pattern for them. The next thing, this one surprised me a lot. I ask people all the time, like, so what made you choose this field of law? And like, a lot of them are just like, oh, well, I took a class in law school, I loved it, and like, this is how I got into it, or my mentor did this, and so on and so forth. A lot of them have no idea what the emotional toll on a family actually is. And they think, I've done this, a lunch and learn for bar associations, and when I say this, I watch, can you guys see my face since I can't see you? You guys can see me, right? Yes,
yeah.
No? Okay, so you have to watch my facial expression. I'll be like, I know that you guys think that you deal with the emotions, but you don't as much as you think you do. And I do it on purpose, because it interrupts the pattern where they're like, and they get defensive, right? They're like attorneys, they're ready to like litigate, and they're like, they get like all intense. And I'm like, let me explain. And so when I show them that when a family is going through the legacy transfer, they're dealing with the finance and the legal, naturally, we step into the logic side of our brain. And so they are actually dealing with family business when they're talking to the attorney, the wealth manager, and the CPA. When they're dealing with the home, and I typically will ask them questions about like, what is your favorite childhood memory? And they will almost always share something about like, oh, well, my mom used to make this blah, 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 whatever. Where did she do that? Oh, well, in the kitchen of my childhood home, right? And so I explain to them that they're dealing with the emotions that are related to the property that do not come out in the legal, financial, and accounting side. And so it's a completely different experience from the client perspective. And because most attorneys have not been through it, they do not have any connection to that. And so when you can bring that out of them and they go, oh, I never thought about it like that. Okay. And then the next one, after today, you guys are all Heirloom affiliated. So they don't know what we're capable of, and they haven't seen it done well. And so until they see it, they're not going to be believers. And so my job today is to make you guys believers so that we can make the legal industry believers of the facts that we can help families transfer legacies better. Okay. So I think we're doing okay on time. So before we get into the more of the tactical stuff, I want to hear from a couple of you guys. I'm going to start the timer and then flip back my screen so I can see you guys. Okay. what feels like scary, intimidating,
Before you go on,
nerve-wracking about this? Go ahead.
not to cut you, but to cut you a little, your camera. We can't see you.
Oh, hold on. How about now?
Nope.
Okay, there we go.
Yep.
I did not realize the sun was this crazy, so I apologize.
No, you're good.
All right, so I want to hear give me a couple. What feels intimidating, scary, nerve-wracking about all of this?
I think it's the connection to the lawyer, making sure you're using your time wisely. What you said was don't waste the time. Like, I'm a talker.
Mm-hmm.
And I do get into the nitty gritty of like, trying to make a relationship. I don't want it to be where I'm wasting their time. So that's the scary part right there, to be precise on conversation and to sound that you have an idea of what is going on. So
definitely
with them.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about it, in our next segment about the sit down, like when you actually meet with them, and you're going to realize that attorneys are not that different from us, but they value their time differently. And so once you actually sit down with them, once they're willing to meet you, you're going to be like, oh, wow, you're just like a regular, normal person. You just happen to have a law degree. But it's the getting in front of them. That's the hardest part. It's no different than like prospecting to an heir or prospecting FSBOs or expires or any of the others. It's the same kind of resistance that you're going to meet up front. And like, I do a lot of networking locally, and it fascinates me how I'll have a great conversation. And by the way, like, this is a little hack that you guys might want to steal. When I'm at a networking event with attorneys, I never lead with real estate. I don't even talk about real estate. I like speak their language, and they're like, oh, what firm are you with? And I'm like, actually, I'm on the property side. And so it fascinates me that now at this point, like, there's a lot of them that I've built relationships with, and where some of them will jump in and be like, no, she's not one of those. But I see a lot of them where their body language recoils, and they're like looking for an escape because they think that I'm going to sit there and harass them for a referral, when in reality, it's about the relationship building. So if you already build relationships with your clients, you already get referrals. It's just a transferable skill, just a little bit different in the language.
Gotcha.
Okay. Let's see. What? Absolutely. What else?
We had Ash bring up he had no idea where to get started. Okay. And I think you're going to get there.
Yeah. So, well, like I said, that eight touches over 8 weeks really makes a difference. I hope you guys took a screenshot of that. That approach, you may not get the conversation the first round. You may not get it the second round. But if you keep going, you're going to find that those relationships, they're going to be like, okay, fine, I'll meet with you, because now I feel rude for you keep like reaching out, you keep dropping by, you keep like attempting. They're going to end up having a conversation with you. Let's see. Never lead with real estate. Oh, okay. Yes. Let's see. Learning to build those types of relationships. Guys, it just comes down to being a whole person outside of real estate. By the way, the hobbies that you guys like never talk about at work, like, please talk more about them with attorneys. They don't want to talk about the law. They don't want to talk about probate. Have regular conversations. Let's see. Sandy, I'll show the 8 touches again at the end, just so we can make sure we keep moving here. And let's see. I just want to make sure. I have 3 attorneys that give me. Perfect. Wanda, I love that. Okay, so I think we're good on questions here. So I'm going to jump back in. Oh, my timer never started. Oops. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the actual meeting, okay? So first thing, and I said this already, but like I'm gonna reiterate again, do not walk into that meeting like, I sell all my listings for 97% of list price, or I always answer my phone, or I'm going to sell it for top dollar. Literally, if you do that, you will never hear from that attorney again. Like, that is not what we're doing here. Okay. So
can everybody double check to make sure they're muted, please? Thank you.
So as I mentioned, attorneys are busy. So the first thing that I'll do is I typically will start asking them, like, how did you get into this, right? Or how did you pick this field of practice? Most of them have the ones that are really good, they typically have a connection to the space. A lot of them don't, though. They were mentored into it, whatever it is. And that is the thing that gets them talking, right? It's no different than when you're having a conversation with a client and you're building rapport. Start with the questions. Typically, mine is like, how did you get into this space? Another favorite of mine, I'm really focused on LinkedIn. And so if you look at their LinkedIn beforehand, and like I'll look for 2 or 3 people that we know in common, and I'll be like, hey, how do you know X, Y, and Z? And then again, being involved in the community, it'll be like, oh, well, I sat on a committee with them, or I know them through this organization, and we have some dialogue around that. And then I will go into my own backstory. And so after like 5-10 minutes, they're going to be like, okay, so like, give me the shtick, right? And so I'll say like, hey, you know, I went through probate myself, and
Hello.
Is it me?
I think
Okay,
it's
cool.
both.
It's not you, it's her.
All
Yeah,
right.
it's not
I was
you.
like, man, I was ready. I was ready. I was so pumped up. I was like, all right, cool. And all right, cool. Give her
Gone.
Shay, shoot her a text message. She'll hop back in. All right, cool. So far, it's starting to seem like one, we need to have a respect for the attorneys and understand where their time is super valuable. And then I think when we're talking about 8x8, what she's really pointing out is just like working a farm, you're going to have to be consistent in building that piece out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think those are the 2 biggest aspects of it. The book that she talked about, I think it's the one that Shay has, The Ultimate Sales Machine. I think applying and, you know, from having conversations, you know, well, when she gets back, we'll talk a bit more of it. Going into the probate data, extracting the probate data, creating in your area, the areas that you work and you're running your business, gathering those attorneys and applying that 8x8 with them consistently is probably one of the first parts and the continuation of being able to build this business. It's something that you're going to have to do week over week, month over month to be consistent on that flow of it. Which is very similar to working almost any other farm.
Jeff, did she mention that there was a website to go to find it? Was that probate data to find those lawyers?
Yeah, but that's where I was. I was typing it out, Amy. I was super close,
okay.
and then she said, "Hold off on it."
Oh, that's
She's
right.
going to drop the link and give
Gotcha.
us the exact the
location.
exact website that we need to go through to be able to get it.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
While we're waiting on her, let's talk about experience. How many people, if you guys could put in the chat, how many people have closed a, how would I say? Now I want to be careful with my words after listening to her. A home or a property that went through probate. Can you put a 1 in the chat if you've actually closed something? Put a 0 if you have not. Myra put a 2, so Myra would be selling 30. Okay, league 30 of them. Amy's all right, cool. All right, how many of you guys have a process similar to this one that you're using to be able to stay in front of attorneys? Roger, you say yes. Roger, if you don't mind coming off mute, maybe if we kind of talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, no problem. Again, my name is Roger. I'm in California.
What part?
Southern California, Fontana,
Okay.
Inland Empire, San Bernardino, Rancho Cucamonga
All right.
area.
Cool.
So what I did was I Googled San Bernardino. That's the county that I live in. San Bernardino. Oh my gosh, I went blank. I just got an email from them, so give me a second. But I Googled San Bernardino County Bar Association, right?
Mm-hmm.
So San Bernardino County Bar Association, Riverside County Bar Association, Los Angeles County Bar Association. So your county Bar Association, become a member of that immediately, if not sooner. They have events. So think about this, right? We all have events at the MLS or our association. And lenders, guess who shows up because they want to meet realtors? Lenders. So if you have a bar association, guess who's meeting there, right? You're going to find probate attorneys, you're going to find defense attorneys, you're going to find divorce attorneys, you're going to find all kinds of attorneys. And the beauty about it is, if you become a sponsor, your name will be up there, and sometimes you can have a table. And sometimes I do go talk to everybody. Somebody said I talk a lot, and I say, hey, my name is Roger. I specialize in probates. And they're like, nah, dude, I'm criminal defense. So if you get in trouble, come see me. You want to go see Jeff over there. He specializes in estate planning and probates. Oh, fantastic. Then I go to that guy. I say, hey, nice to meet you. My name is Roger. And Jeff suggested I speak to you. Or I'm sorry, whatever person I spoke to Jeff, I said, hey, they suggested I speak to you because I do probates and so on.
And then you never leave with real estate. You learn the language, and then you tell them you are on the property side.
100%.
Welcome back, Alexa.
I am so sorry. I'm literally over here chatting away. I'm like having a whole conversation. Had no idea. I don't know what happened, but literally I was over here like talking away, and I didn't even realize. So I'm so sorry.
I think that's my favorite part about it being live, is because you get to see things like this. But we carried on. We now know that majority of the people in the chat have actually done a probate deal.
Good.
And,
okay, good.
But a lot of them haven't done it, been able to attract the lawyers and the conversations like you are. So we'll go ahead and have you start back from there.
Just so because I don't want to repeat the stuff that you guys heard me say. So what part
Thank you, Roger.
Did I get cut off?
Demonstrate value with a case study. You were on number 2, moving to number 3.
Okay.
Yep.
Hold on a second. I'm so sorry, guys. I got the notification from Canva that like I was offline, and I was like, oh, maybe that's just a Canva thing. I didn't realize I was kicked out. So, okay, I apologize. Okay, did you guys see me go through all of this?
This is the slide. You were at demonstrate value with a case study.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna fly through this because I literally just did a whole spiel around this that like I got a practice round, I guess we could say. Okay, so next is obviously present as part of their team. Like I said before, in the same way that the best lenders operate as an extension of us, we need to operate as an extension of the attorney. We're used to being the center of the universe in terms of the real estate transaction, where it's titled, the inspector, the lender, all of these people that like center around us. In probate and in inherited property, it's centered around the attorney, and in some cases, the wealth manager or the CPA. Okay, so that's really important to know because they're the ones who, especially in probate, have access to the court system. Next up, like I said, you need to know the lingo, and then just to like rehash very quickly for the 12 questions. This is when you finish a meeting with an attorney and they like you and they want to refer you, they're going to ask the same question every single time, which is, I want to refer you, I like you, but most of my clients already have somebody, or they want to work with someone who is a neighborhood expert. And so at that point, my response is the same every single time, which is, their agent is probably great, but here's what's going to happen. The family is going to hire them. The agent is going to realize they're completely out of their depths, and the family is going to feel like abandoned in a sense. And then they're going to drive you crazy. They're going to stress you out. So here's what I have for you. It's 12 questions. And this is what I want them to ask their agent. If the agent can answer all 12 of them, great. That means that the agent is going to do a great job for the client. Most residential agents cannot answer any of those 12 questions. And this is not something that's like meant to be super complicated. It's just designed to focus on making sure that that agent is qualified. Think about it as pre-qualifying questions for the family to ask the agent. You guys need to know how to answer those questions. The last piece of this is 70% of attorneys are solo or small practice. A lot of times we see attorneys as these like Harveys from Suits, right? Like if you guys, that's one of my favorite shows. So we think of them as these like big time lawyers, but in reality, 70% of them operate just like we do. They're solo attorneys, or they operate in a team that's like 2 to 10 attorneys. Okay. So next up is
Before you go on, you mentioned 12 questions. What are the 12 questions?
I'm going to give them to you guys at the end. Okay.
Okay, cool. All right.
Yeah. So in terms of, because if I give you all the resources right now, I've done this presentation enough times that they end up being distracting. So I want to give you guys everything at once. Okay. So in terms of actually presenting the case study and showing your unique value, like I said, we cannot just say that we do a good job and that we're going to answer the phone. We have to solve actual problems that the family is going through. Even the best of real estate agents that like really care about their clients are going to say something like, oh, we'll just do an estate sale. And they're going to maybe give a name or something like that. And then they're going to be like, okay, call me when it's ready for photos. The problem is that the clean out and prep process takes families somewhere between 200 and 300 hours. It's going to cost them $20,000 to $50,000, and they have to deal with 8 vendors. Now, let me stop screen sharing for a second here. By a show of hands, can anybody tell me if you've done a renovation on your house before? I need to see more people. Hold on.
Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. She's only going to see like 10 people on here. So if you've done it, put 1 if you have.
Okay, perfect.
Or a yes.
Okay, now can you also say yes or no? Did you work with a general contractor or somebody who coordinated the logistics? So yes, I did, or no, I didn't. Okay, we have a GC here, but for the most part, most of us. Okay, good. So for those of you who had a GC, you probably realize that it's still stressful. For those of you who did not have a GC or someone to coordinate this for you, you probably realize this is really stressful. Now, what happens in the clean out and prep process of inherited property, if we don't have support for the family ends up being a general contractor of their own grief. It is our job to serve them in that time, because that is the moment that family legacy is lost. What happens is that they start going through cleaning out and prepping this property. Then there starts getting tension between family members because they're stretched to their absolute max. They're experiencing decision fatigue. They're dealing with like trying to keep the peace between all of these family members. And now they're like expected to make all these financial decisions, all in the middle of grief. Right? And so when they're going through all of this, they're like, you know what, just sell it. And so you're going to get a phone call that's going to say something like, I just want to sell it as is, or I just want to, get rid of it. It is our job to protect their legacy, to protect their equity in those moments. I need you guys to understand that that is our whole job. Half of America's net worth is in property equity. And if we're going to call ourselves the people who care about families, and we're just letting families give away their inherited properties because they said they want to sell it as is, or they said they don't want to do the clean out, it's because they don't know that they can count on us to help them through that. I cannot stress enough how important as an industry we have to change the way that we handle these properties. Okay, so let me jump back into my case study here. Hold on one second. Okay. So it's the clean out, the prep, and then the actual sale. Any agent can sell a property. Most agents don't have the tools, resources, relationships, anything to deal with the clean out and the prep. Okay. So instead of walking them through the, here's the 84 things that I do, because attorneys don't want to hear that. They don't want to know every single step of the process. That's not their job to know that. They want to know what it looks like. So I always give them this case study. This was a property in Bal Harbour, down in Miami. And this property was listed for $1.3 million. Okay. This was the kitchen. This was the one of the bedrooms. And you could tell that it was done in the 90s. They were in the middle of a renovation. The brother had a heart attack and died, and his brother that inherited the property lived in Colombia. He was paying $1,500 a month for the association fee, and he didn't spend any time in the property. He was just spending $1,500 every single month just because he couldn't make decisions about what to do. And so in this, we were going through the clean out process, and he makes a comment about how he thinks the guitars are worth something. And he's like, yeah, so I'm just going to give them to my nephew. And so he's like, I was like, okay, well, let's do this. Let me have my personal property appraiser come in and determine the value of these. And then you make a decision then. They ended up being $20,000 worth of guitars. And so the brother is like, I'll give my nephew one of them and I'm going to sell the rest of them. And that alone recovered so much of the cost of the clean out and of the commission that he ended up paying us. And so this is the case study that the attorney that referred it, now when he opens probate, he immediately introduces me because of this. So then we took it a step further. A lot of agents will do virtual renovations of their listings, but I've done this enough times to know that virtual renovations without giving context actually creates cognitive dissonance in the buyer's brain. Essentially, what that means is that they're looking at this outdated property, and then they look at what's possible and they go, yeah, I want that, but now there's all these things I have to do in between. And so I'm going to use that as a frame and as a model of what I want, but I'm not going to buy this one because it's too much work. So what we do is I have my contractor come in. She does a full renovation estimate. She picks out all the finishes. We design it based on one of the like higher listings that have sold in that building or neighborhood. And we do the renderings. We take care of everything. This particular unit, we sold for $1.3 million in 11 days, all cash, no contingencies. The buyer paid a $50,000 association assessment because we were able to show him that in 1.6 million, 1.3 with the listing, 300,000 with the actual renovation, there was another unit 3 floors higher in one building over that sold over $2 million. And so the buyer's like, hell yeah, I want that. This is a steal. And this was a building that we had 18 active listings and only 2 sales in the last, I think, 14 or 15 months. And so we're not talking about like a seller's market where anything is selling. We're talking about a building that nothing was selling. And because of the way that we presented it, that was what actually got the market to move in response to it. Okay. So that is an example of a case study. If you don't have a property that you've done something like this for, I would recommend either A, pick a property that you've dealt with complicated things and figure out how to simplify the story into like 7 or 8 sentences and be able to tell that story consistently. It's been like a little over a year, I think, since I sold this one, but it's my favorite case study because it covers the whole gambit of the clean out, the prep of the property, having the handyman come in, and then also the association assessments, buyer's market, and the marketing renovation. The attorney doesn't care what market it was sold in. They want to know that you're going to make their lives easier and that you're going to make them look like a rock star. Okay. So I want to hear from a couple of people. How can you or how have you differentiated yourself in working with attorneys? So let me stop screen sharing here and then I'm going to hop back over.
Before anybody jumps in, we do have a question from Michael. Michael asks, does she charge for the quotes? And if so, who covers that? And then I am also assuming that the retainer fee is for coordination and the actual vendor invoice will be paid by the heirs.
Yes, all of the above. Yes, there's some logistical stuff that comes along with that. And so, but yes, the family pays for all of that. It's part of the listing process. As like just very briefly, when I do a listing presentation for an inherited property, I never take the listing on the first meeting. I will actually go do a walkthrough. I record myself walking through the whole property. I open every single drawer. I send the video to my partners to get estimates for, so they can estimate like the estate sale cost, the disposal cost, whatever stuff needs to be done. If there's like, I had a property that it was like the only house in the neighborhood that had a pool in it, and the blinds in the back of the house were all broken. And so like having someone come in and like fix that, the family is the one that pays for it. And even in the virtual renovation, I will explain to them I use the exact same case study. This is what happens if we just do the virtual renovation without estimates. And then I go, look, the alternative is we could do the renovation and pay for that. And they laugh and they're like, okay, yeah, I get it. So that always helps. Okay, we got a couple hands up. Like I said, I want to hear how can you or how have you differentiated yourself? So let's start with Lee, since you're on camera, and then we'll jump to Tammy and then Bucky.
Thank you. Great presentation so far. I have one of the ways I've differentiated is I bring in my contractor. My contractor will upfront all of the fees in terms of building out, do a full fix and flip completely with all the fit and finish at the end of the project. And so I have a before the work gets done quote on how much the house can sell for, and then I have a quote for the after. And so sometimes when I have beneficiaries that worry about how much money is left on the table, if an investor comes in, buys the property as is, and then makes a ton of money, I can allow the beneficiaries to do that up front, and at a no out of pocket cost. They get, the contractor gets paid at the end when we close. And that's been one thing that attorneys and families have been really excited about.
I love that. There's a couple of ways that you can do that to Lee's point. So the first is there's a couple of companies that will front cash for probate if they don't have the cash on hand to do that, and they will fund in like a couple of days, and they essentially borrow against the equity of the property for like the duration of the transaction. So that can definitely be done. I typically don't take that approach, not because it doesn't work. It can, but typically what I found is that speed and getting it sold is more important than the additional carrying costs. Like, we're in one of the most expensive markets in the country, and so a lot of our families would just prefer to do the virtual. But in a market that is slower and taking longer to sell, that is absolutely a route that I would definitely recommend. So great job, Lee. Let's see. Bucky, go ahead, and then we'll go Tammy.
Yes, I just did one recently. The attorney was kind of up in the air. She's like, she was going to let the client pay for probate after it's sold. She needed some major help to get the house sold. The family was disconnected. Like, the heirs were in different parts of the country, and one daughter was 3 hours away. She didn't have anything to do with the house, but needed to sell it. So I just told the attorney, I was like, look, I can bring my crew in. I'll clean out the house. She has no money to put in there. We had an estate sale. Really, it was just a moving sale. Blow everything out. We took the money to pay for the dumpster and the cleaning. So basically, it just kind of took that off her plate. So that emotional contact with all the stuff, I was like, take out what you want and then leave the rest. My team will sell everything. We'll use that money to pay for the clean out and their labor. And then I'll get the house listed and sold. And that's what exactly happened. So she was just blown away. This attorney's like, oh my gosh, I want to tell all my friends about you. And so it just kind of going over the beyond. I didn't really have to put up any money, but I just coordinated some of the estate clean out and sales. So, but it really just gave me a shoe in now. Every client case, she's already referred me to 2 other attorneys now. So.
I love that. You guys, I just realized that it's 5 o'clock on the dot. So I have 5 more slides. Can I fly through these? Only because I want to make sure that we get to the end. Jeff, will you give me the
rock and roll? Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
I told you that I had a feeling we were gonna. So let's go. I'm down.
I promise I won't. I'll try to talk. I can talk fast, but I'm gonna keep it to a normal pace. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. If there's one thing that you take away from today, please, for the love of all things holy, do not approach this like prospecting. This is business development. When I explained this for the first time in the lens of when I used to be in a big office, the title company would always come in and she would bring cookies with her little sticker that had the logo on top of it. And one of the agents in the office was like, she never asked for business, but she's always here. And I was like, yeah, but she always gets the business, right? And they're like, yeah. It's like, that's the difference between business development and prospecting. Prospecting is you're going after them for the right now. Business development is you're going after the relationship, because that is how you get selected to speak at the bar association. You get asked to speak at the organizations that they're involved in. You get introduced to the other attorneys. And so you may not get the referral from that one attorney, but when you I'm going to call it infiltrate the community, you start getting that business. Now, with anything, this is not get rich quick. A lot of agents are like, okay, so how long until I get my first referral? There's a couple of things that matter. Number one is how well you can tell the story. Number two is how well you build relationships. And I will die on the hill that if you create great content that educates and speaks to the attorneys, and you talk about probate and you talk about legacy transfers, you will get referrals much faster than if you're never creating content ever. I promise you, the attorney I told you about that she has her hearing on the 26th that she's going to be referring us for. She It took me 2.5 years to get in front of her. And the first thing that she said when she sat down, she was like, so like, I'm really sorry that I kept blowing you off, but she's like, I get like solicited for real estate like all the time. She's like, but the reason that I wanted to sit down with you was because I read your Substack, and your email every single week is like one of my favorite things to get. And I was like, that's so awesome, right? So like creating the content, 1,000,000%. This is not content or relationships. It's a both and, not an either or. And so I just needed to like reiterate that. This is just another way of saying that, which is your authority is like, that is the cheat code to this. It doesn't, with attorneys, the harder you push is the more they're going to resist you, right? The more you come across like a salesperson is the more they're going to put up their guard. The way through is with your authority, your ability to tell stories, your ability to build relationships, and your ability to show that you actually are an expert in this space, okay? So it takes time to build that authority, but the better that you can get at those three things is the faster that their referrals come. So, excuse me. After that 8x8 campaign, you'll find that there are some attorneys who will only open 3, 4, 5 probate cases a year. There's one in my market. He has like 40 open probate cases that all have property attached to them right now. And so like you'll start to get a feel for who the players are, but you do want to have a nurture campaign in the same way that you would with your regular like database. Definitely go to the bar association events. I didn't catch the name, but the gentleman that was speaking when I jumped back on, he was talking about attending events, sponsoring, hosting the lunches, like makes a big difference. My rule of thumb, just if it helps anybody, is now I get asked to sponsor stuff all the time. And my rule, and they know at this point, I will not sponsor if I don't get to speak. If I get to speak, then I'll sponsor. That's it. That's it. So it's like, I just need 3 to 5 minutes, and that is typically the thing that that makes the biggest difference. And then if you get to do like a lunch and learn, or and you get to like sit down and have conversations with those attorneys, makes a world of difference. The next one is 1 email per month. If you're going to do this, do not, number 1, try to teach attorneys how to do their job. You don't need to teach them about probate. They already know. You need to give them a perspective that they don't understand and that they don't get to see. And so typically what I found in terms of the relationship building is talking about, this is going to sound so fluffy, but it makes a difference, is the emotional experience of the client throughout that process, right? Like, talk about the transformation journey of how you kept a family together, not that you sold the property for more money. Talk about how you were able to help a family avoid conflict. That makes a big difference. And talk about current events. So, for example, here in Florida, we have, and you guys are going to see this in your markets too, is tax fraud, or deed fraud is running rampant. In 2023, there were like 4 cases in Palm Beach County, and last year there were like 800 cases of deed fraud. And so AI is making that go rampant. Those types of conversations where they don't know to look out for that, those are the things that they care about. Here in Florida, there's this whole thing about no property taxes. And so being able to talk about current events through the lens of inherited property, and not in a like, let me educate you, but like, here's what this means for your clients. That is how you have that conversation. Okay. Here's how to have this conversation with your clients. Make them better at their job by being a resource. If you are just educating in your content, you're competing with AI and you're not going to win. You have to be able to tell stories that move them emotionally, and that is how you break through that. The next thing is the quarterly call. Some of them, like I text them or I'll drop by their offices, and some of them I just see at events. Some of them I sit on boards with and things like that. And so it's not that, like, this is not a fully set list. You're going to have other ways of nurturing them as well. Doing like a quarterly mailing. Love to do those. I do my handwritten notes. I typically do like a Thanksgiving like gratitude card. I do an invite to my gingerbread wars, and then typically I'll do something in the spring. And then at least 1 LinkedIn post per week. LinkedIn right now they're going through massive changes in their algorithm. Less than 1% of the creators on LinkedIn actually create content consistently. And so like you can really stand out there and you can target probate attorneys specifically. So that is the nurture system. Okay, we have like 2 more slides and then we're going to wrap up here. So a couple places you're going to end up getting stuck. Number 1 is the content for your nurture campaigns. I understand that this is a lot of work to do, and there's a lot that comes in with like taking on a new market and trying to learn the market at the same time. The next one is what I call productizing your offer so that you can position yourself differently. And by productizing, I don't mean turning yourself into a robot. I mean having the same process every single time. So for example, when I do a clean out, I don't call it a clean out, I call it curation, because I had a client once who she was very triggered by the word clean out, because she's like, I don't want to throw my mom's her life away. And so now I call it curation because we're curating the loved one's legacy. And so we go step 1, we inventory. Step 2 is deciding on what the heirs are going to keep. Step 3 is what's going to be sold. Step 4 is what's going to go to donation. And then the last step is disposal. Being able to explain it that simply makes the family go, oh, okay, I don't need to worry about this because you have a plan. And then the last piece is the onboarding of inherited property clients. So I put together an entire toolkit. I've had over 200 agents who've purchased this. It's $44. So I meant for this to be super cheap. But what I've learned is that if I give this away for free, nobody ever uses it. Nobody implements it. But putting a small price tag on it makes a big difference in your actual commitment to moving forward with this. So in the toolkit, I have the cheat sheet for the probate terminology. You're going to get 100 leads or 100 attorney downloads from probate data. So that is included in the $44. There's the 8 touches, the copy, what I say in my LinkedIn message, what I say when I call, my pre-listing package, the all 5 objections that attorneys are going to regularly give, the 12 questions. When you have the call with a client, the discovery call, how that conversation should go, because it is different than a regular listing. And then there's a variation of this workshop that gives like the tangible, here's exactly how to use this, and here's how to use probate data. So it's not about the $44. It's because I'm on a mission, truly, to change the way that America inherits property. And I can't serve the whole country, but we as an industry need to work together to make this happen. And so with that in mind, that is my presentation for today. I would love to hear some ahas and takeaways. I'm going to drop the link in the chat so I can switch back to my screen. And I know that we're super over time. I actually pride myself on being on time. And so I want to make sure that, oh, thank you, George. Okay, so let me hear some ahas and takeaways. Or questions, but I would definitely want to hear the ahas and takeaways. Those are always my favorite because that shows me what is resonating with agents and how I can continue to help you guys. So who wants to go first?
Some bone out there. I know a big aha or takeaway for me is it's from being a team lead, and I'm big on systems. This is the systems build things. Systems get you somewhere. You don't just have a, come to my open, like you have a full process from before all the way through the end and almost everything. And it's really a lot of what we talked about today was tied around to the relationship with the lawyers. But I would say if we look back at it, you're actually showing the lawyers how you take care of their clients.
Yeah.
So like that's the thing. Like I know it said, hey, from, get listing referral from probate attorneys. But no, show probate attorneys how you take care of the people that they're going to trust you with. And that's my biggest takeaway of that.
I love that. Thank you. That's a beautiful way of positioning it. I love it. So
yeah,
that was great. Who else?
I already bought your thing, but
thank you. I appreciate it. So
I say ditto to Jeff's what he said.
Go ahead.
That's the system. The fact that you have a system, it keeps you focused on truly what you're doing and why you're being of service, and just nurturing them. It's like you got to present yourself as like, I'm going to make this here for them and answer all those questions to making the process easy as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I had a conversation with an agent the other day who was so proud of the facts that he had a listing that was an inherited property. And he goes, yeah, so the family said to sell it as is. So I'm selling it to one of my investors who's going to put $50,000 into it. And he's going to sell it for like $500,000 more. And I wanted to grab him by the ears and like rip his ears off of his head, because our job as agents, I understand that, yes, like it's great to get the second listing, but like our job is to protect family legacies. And like, that is the message that we have to go in to the attorneys with, is we are here to protect your client, not to take advantage of them. And those types of situations, like, yeah, you might get 2 listings, but you'll never get a referral again from that attorney. So
And
That's why they don't like us.
one more thing to mention, Ms. Rosario, is the administrator / executor, whoever it is, right? And know the difference between the two when you're talking to attorneys is they have a fiduciary duty to the estate, right? So if you are taking advantage of that, you also have a fiduciary duty to the estate because they hired you.
Yes.
So if you're selling that property to your investor, right? I mean, at least put it on the MLS and have some exposure. And if you get no bites, then move to plan B.
Yeah.
Don't let that be plan A.
And to clarify, just real quick for anybody who's listening, I'm not saying never work with investors in inherited property. There are 1,000,000% cases that it's absolutely necessary. If there's there's a reverse mortgage foreclosure on the table and they're like on a deadline and the court is not willing to give an extension, you need a cash offer like yesterday, right? Like in those cases, by all means, right? Like that is a situation that needs to be handled that way. But for like a family that just doesn't know any better, do not be the agent to take advantage of them. Please, like, please. So Roger, that was beautiful. Let's see. I want to hear 2 more.
That's how you know it was good.
Bucky, go ahead.
Bucky?
No, I mean, since somebody said it was good, I've already bought your course and listened through everything. So I just wanted to jump in here again. And like, I just love the little nuggets you drop, like working the LinkedIn and just how important it is just to work the system and just being top of mind to them and not thinking that you're annoying. So great stuff. Like, you got awesome stuff. So
Thank you. You know, Becky, I'm glad that you said like the not being annoying thing. This is, and it goes into any form of sales, but I want you guys to think about this through, there's a framework that I follow called ANPC. I posted about this on my Instagram yesterday. It's ANPC, attract, nurture, position, convert. This is the entire process that our brain goes through when we buy, refer, rave about anything. Attract is make sure they understand that it's a problem. And so most of my conversations in the beginning is really understanding what their problems are and helping them understand the client's actual problems that clients are not verbalizing. Then nurture is where they understand that you're the right person. And that's where your passion, your care, your process, all of those things. Position is around showing them the process and the systems. And then convert is where you actually get the referral. But like, don't rush that relationship. They need to go through mentally that whole process for them to become a raving fan. So Becky, thank you for that. Really appreciate it. Who else?
The takeaway on what families do with inherited properties on, as far as percentage wise, was amazing. Crazy.
Yeah, I know. It's a huge market opportunity. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. Well, I think we're at time here. So I want to be respectful of everyone's time. We're 16 minutes over, but I'll hand it back to Jeff, Shelly. Thank you guys for having
All
us.
right. No, thank you for blessing us with your presence. This was amazing. We love things like this. And this is the reason why we started Real Estate Collective. Before I jump into that piece, where can they find you? I know you gave us the QR code, but how do we continue this conversation with you?
I'm going to put my Instagram in and my LinkedIn. LinkedIn.com/in/oops. Okay, I don't want to mispronounce your name. Tiana. Am I saying that right? Tiana?
Mrs. Duncan or Miss Duncan.
There we go. Okay, so real quick, this is like sidebar and it'll take 7 seconds, but I am like huge on pronouncing people's names right because my name is Alexa. It's 5 letters, but for my entire life, it's like people would be like Alexia, Alexis, Alex, like literally everything, Melissa, everything but my name. And then the Alexa box came out and then it turned into every single person I met for like 4 years was like, Alexa, play my favorite song. Alexa, how's the weather? Alexa. And they would ask me like all their Alexa questions. And so that's yeah. Okay. So Tayana, okay. To answer your question, so September 14th, we're opening. It's the Inherited Property Challenge. That is not ready yet, but you'll see if you stick around, you'll see the information for that come up. You're going to get like the full CRM, all of my automations, everything involved in that. So yes, it's coming. No pressure, no obligation or anything like that. But this is the fastest way to get started. Perfect. Okay, so any other questions, feel free to reach out, Instagram, LinkedIn. I prefer those. I'll drop my email too, but perfect. Okay, well, thank you guys for having me today.
Appreciate it. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Guys, as a reminder, the recording will be posted probably in like an hour or so in the real estate community. We also have the bot, so you can go ahead and ask as many questions as you possibly can based off of today's conversation. If it asks something that it doesn't know, it's going to shoot you right over to Alexa, and it's going to give you her email and her Instagram and everything to be able to find it. With that being said, we hope you enjoyed it. This is what we do in this community. This is bigger than us. This is all about we. Welcome to Real Estate Collective. I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you on the next one.
Bye.
See y'all later.
Bye. Thanks, Alexa.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's see. I see someone typing here, so I want to make sure. Bye, everybody.